set up a time that I could talk on the phone with Stacy. Living in California means that these conversations on the phone have been fairly early, but still manageable. I've been having a lot of 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. Calls with Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, trying to get specifics. And on some of those specifics, I mean, I think one of the things that I think is really important for everyone to know is, San Diego is not just a little quaint beach town. I know a lot of people that have never been here before have this idea of what San Diego is going to be like. And, definitely remember, it's a major city. It's going to have everything that a major city, everything you'd want in a major city. It's an awesome tourist destination. You have Balboa Park. You do have great beaches. You have the San Diego Zoo. We like to think of it as the craft beer capital of the United States. There's independently owned restaurants and bars that are amazing. I actually made a Google map that I've posted on the San Diego Spurs Twitter account, which is at SD Spurs for anyone that's looking for it. And I'll be posting that again. I've actually started a Facebook group called What to Do in San Diego When You're Spurs, kind of following the themes of the tour Facebook groups that have been being made. And then in terms of events that we have that are kind of the more official events and the San Diego Spurs sponsored events, we are going to have a supporters night, which I'm not going to put out any information on dates or anything like that, but anyone that's been on one of these tours knows that these supporters nights are awesome. Great way to meet people that you've been interacting with online. Great way to meet people from, throughout the country, from England. Amsterdam Spurs were in Nashville, so that was super cool. Have a sing song, have some beers, have more than just a few beers, and have a really great night. There's going to be a Legends night, and that's going to be awesome. That's going to be really, really cool. There's going to be some cool stuff coming on after that, and during that. And we did really want to take advantage of the fact that San Diego is a really unique area. So we do want to just do like a Spurs at the Beach day. So that's going to be super family friendly. It's not going to be anything that, we're, meeting at a certain time. It's going to be the type of thing like, hey, we're going to be at the beach from this time until this time. Come on down, have a good time. We'll have some balls with us that we can kick around. There's actually, unfortunately, no alcohol on the beach itself. However, there's a boardwalk, and right behind the boardwalk, there are many, many bars. So you can sit at a bar, you can have a couple cocktails, look at the Pacific Ocean, and, just hang out with some yids. And, of course, there's going to be that Austin Spurs bar crawl, which is going to be awesome. And the best thing about that is when you take the trolley down from downtown to the stadium, we're going to be in full force for a San Diego Spurs tailgate, which we are inviting everyone to. We haven't figured out if we're going to have a small donation or if we're going to just try to fund it ourselves. But yeah, it's going to be really fun. And then there's the match. And, like Chuck said, anyone that's been on these tours, even though it sounds counterintuitive, the match tends to be sort of an afterthought.
Yeah, you're right. And I think this year being a World Cup year, it's going to be probably a bit more of an afterthought because, particularly at the beginning of the tour, the international stars, and we have, 12 on World Cup duty, are going to be used sparingly, if at all, while they return from, obviously, the World Cup, some vacation time, and then getting back into preseason training. And, a lot of people said, well, Spurs won't come back again this summer because it's a World Cup year. But 2014, little different dynamic when we were all in Chicago. It was a World Cup year, and the squad was a little depleted, not on the England side. And that may be a question on the Spurs quiz later, but it was very, very thin on the ground with the so-called superstars at that point. But as you said, and I kind of agree with you, from these tours, that the match tends to be an afterthought. It's about how the supporter club network has really grown over these years. And if you guys were in Chicago, there were maybe a couple hundred of us. You were in Nashville, it was tens of thousands of Spurs. And, I said after that a year ago almost that whoever got to follow Nashville Spurs had their work cut out for them. But, Ben, if I could be in the country I would definitely have wanted to come to San Diego because I think you've got a great city there. I love coming to San Diego, and to see Spurs by the beach would have been pretty freaking awesome. So, any closing thoughts from Ben or Chuck before we move on to the world's greatest tournament?
Well, I'll say one thing. If anybody, for any reason, hasn't bought tickets to any of the ICC events, ICC is running a really great deal right now. They're doing a buy one, get one free for Father's Day. And as we all know, they don't like to give away things for free very often. So if you have not bought your tickets, take advantage of that deal.
Awesome. Chuck?
Simon, it was a pleasure.
Right.
Ben, it was a pleasure. And
yeah, Chuck,
thanks,
I know Chuck has got to jump off. He's got other commitments, so we appreciate you being on. We will, when Ken releases this later tonight, he'll make sure to tag you guys so you can retweet this to your followers, your accounts. We'll get the word across the Atlantic. So if anyone is coming from the UK or Europe for their holidays in the US and they're going to take in some matches, this will be their guide to join the US contingent and have a great time. Because I think anyone who came over and saw what the supporters clubs over here have been doing the last few years have been blown away. And we thank you guys for being on and helping with that. And Chuck, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Ben, good luck on the trivia, man.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I'll talk to you later, dude.
Cheers,
Ben and Ken trivia. Awesome. So, right, we're going to get stuck into the Russia 2018 World Cup preview show. We've got a lot to talk about, and we'll wrap up with some Spursy stuff on what's going on in the world of Tottenham. And, you know, before anyone thinks, well, I'll just go get a cup of tea, while they're talking about the World Cup. This is going to be a heavily slanted Spurs World Cup. As I mentioned, we do have 12 players that are featured in this tournament representing the various countries. Obviously, heavied up in the England-Belgium group, in Group G, and we'll get to that. But before we do that, let's have a trip down memory lane, and we'll discuss some favorite past tournaments, favorite matches, favorite goals. Ben, Ken, either of you been to a World Cup tournament?
I have never been to a World Cup. I am making plans on going to not the next one, but the 2026.
Well, July 13th, the day before the World Cup kicks off, the announcement will be made whether it is North America or Morocco. So fingers crossed it's North America, because I went in 94. And I went to 4 matches in Dallas, and granted, England weren't in it, but that wasn't going to stop me watching the best football tournament in the world. And I had a blast at those 4 matches. I should have gone to the other 2 that were here in Dallas, but it was absolutely brilliant. Ken, were you able to take in any
No.
USA 94?
I did not. I was actually in Florida at the time and just did not have the opportunity. Just didn't pan out. I am very much looking forward to just like everyone else, hoping that it does end up in the States, so that I can plan and see this tournament live as part of my bucket list for my life. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But no, I have not done it yet.
And again, if it is North America in 2026, that's Mexico, Canada, and the U.S., that is some massive scope, but I would love to take in a match at the Azteca. I don't care who I see, but if there was 100,000 people at the Azteca, but yeah, awesome stuff. So
great stadium.
World Cup memories, and I'll kick this one off with best tournament. For me, it was 1990 Italia. I was living in Australia, staying up at all kinds of stupid hours to watch the tournament. England went from crap to 1 kick away from making the final. Gascoigne's tears, Lineker's goals, and again, those were Spurs players at the time, and that was Gaz's coming of age. It was just a phenomenal tournament, and I have so many happy memories of that. Guys, what's your favorite tournament, Ken?
For me, 2006. As you know, I grew up an Italian national fan, and in 2006, when they won the World Cup, that was the very famous Zinedine Zidane giving the headbutt to the chest, getting the red card, and the rest, as they say, was history. So for me, it was that tournament, watching that team with Pirlo and Del Piero and Buffon and Chiellini, and the list goes on and on of all the world-class football players that were on that squad. Yeah, for me it was 2006.
And for you, Ben?
It's kind of weird. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit because my absolute favorite World Cup memory is not from a men's World Cup. It's from 1999 and seeing the U.S. women winning it. So for me, that's my favorite World Cup memory. I have plenty of men's World Cup memories that I love, but for whatever reason, when it comes to it, that is the thing. Like seeing your country win it, there's nothing better.
Brandy Chastain in a sports bra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she gets endorsed in brass, and it looks like somebody's
oh my
grandmother.
God, it was so bad. But yeah, I mean, 2010 was a lot of fun. You know, I do follow England, but obviously, you know, I am from the good old USA, and you know,
Rustenburg,
seeing
Rob Green.
Yeah, it was
Rob Green.
2010 was fun. And, you know, yesterday I actually had the pleasure of spending the first 45 minutes of the USA-France match having a beer with Landon Donovan. So we got to discuss some World Cup stuff, in person, and that was really, really fun. Cool. Great guy.
And 2002 was a good World Cup for the US, making it to the quarters, and that great win against Portugal. And Landon Donovan scored in that game, didn't he?
In 2002, he did.
Yeah, they beat Portugal 3-2. So this might be a bit tougher for you guys, but your best goal for me, it was Owen against Argentina in 1998.
Wow.
Ben?
What comes to mind, even though it's not that goal that Robin van Persie scored at the last one, that headed, that just huge looping, cross in, and he headed it in when he did that Superman header, was just stunning.
That was a good goal. Was that 14 or 10?
Yeah, that was 14.
And that's also when Tim Cahill scored that world lead for the Aussies too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
don't remember who it was against, but it was a great goal.
And James Rodriguez had that absolute melting shot from outside the box.
Ken, favorite goal?
You know what? Ben just kind of mentioned him. Maybe Donovan's. What was it? That last second winner that advanced them. I'm trying to remember I can't remember the year off the top of my head, or who they were playing.
Slovenia.
Slovenia. That's right.
The Charlie Brown shirts.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, because they were out. They were out until he scored.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's where I take my England Homer hat off. My favorite match, and because I can say I was actually at it, was 94, the quarterfinals, Brazil and Holland. A lot of people said that was the game of the tournament. I think Brazil went up 2-0. Holland with Bergkamp and all their stars of that tournament came back to make it 2-2 before Brazil scored a late one to make it 3-2. It was a fantastic game. I was way up in the upper deck of the Cotton Bowl, and there were some English lads behind me, and I think I had did I have a Spurs shirt? I had a Spurs shirt on. And they said, so what do you think about all these financial irregularities and being docked points and getting kicked out the FA Cup? I was like, what? And that's the point where I realized, having only been in the States for about a year and a half, that I had lost all touch with what was going on with Tottenham. And I vowed, I said, hey, that's not happening again. And, the internet was relatively new at that point. And I was like, wow, I did not know about this. So I started figuring out how to get some more news out of the UK to figure out what was going on with my beloved Spurs. So that was my favorite match. Took the missus to that. She probably remembers nothing of it. It was so far up in the upper deck, and the Cotton Bowl was such a shithole, you had to lean over at risk of falling into the rows in front of you to even see the touchline for a throw-in. It was that bad. But anyway,
it can't be any worse than anybody that got stuck behind the UFO at White Hart Lane if they were an away fan.
Well, true. So, Ken, favorite World Cup match?
When Italy beat France.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Ben, are you going to say 99 U.S. women's final?
Yeah, I'll actually probably say my favorite ever was the '98 final.
When, yeah.